Would you book hotel rooms you had absolutely no intention of sleeping in just to earn elite status? Well, that's exactly what I did to become a Hyatt Globalist in 2024. It took nearly 2 years of planning, an American Airlines status run, and a few awkward hotel check-ins for rooms that no one was actually going to be staying in. Then, we spent all of 2025 putting globalist status to the test at resorts and hotels around the world. But after adding up every suite upgrade, free breakfast, late checkout, parking benefits, and more, did we actually come out ahead, or did I just waste a lot of points and money chasing status? Well, today, I'm breaking down exactly what the run cost us, what Hyatt Globalist actually delivered, and whether or not I would do it all over again in the future. Welcome to the BoldlyGo podcast. I'm your host, DeAndre Coke. A few housekeeping reminders before we get started. You can catch all these episodes in their full entirety on our YouTube channel. And for those of you that watch this on YouTube, don't forget we have a much larger show, audio only, and that includes every Friday we have our quick hits. That's our news of the week in the world of points and miles and travel. So you don't want to miss that. That is only on your audio only platforms like Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can also use the timestamps on any platform to move ahead or behind. If you want to recapture something that we talked through on these episodes, you can use the timestamps as well. And if you have questions on maybe a destination or a trip or points to miles psychology or what's great for beginners or more advanced strategies or business owners, you can go to our podcast library that's linked in all of our show notes and descriptions. You can actually go ahead and type in like the Maldives or Fiji or New Zealand or Thailand or whatever it may be and catch those episodes. Or you can hit the buttons for beginner, intermediate, advanced, business owner, and it'll take you to all of the episodes in our entire catalog that cover those various topics. Now, for today's episode, I am super excited to talk through my run to be a globalist, the mattress run that I did, and what was the results of it? Was it worthwhile for me to do? Now, a little bit of background. This took me about 2 years to be able to put the pieces together in order to be a Hyatt Globalist. And so I'm going to talk through what that process was like, how we did it, and how you could have the opportunity yourself to do a globalist run as well. So we're not actually talking about just doing a 60-night mattress run stay. I'm talking about completing one of the accelerated runs, which I'm going to get to in a little bit. Now, a little bit of background, because if you've been following the show for a while, you know I've been at Points and Miles for over a decade now, or basically a decade this year. And you can easily say, well, DeAndre, you've been in Points and Miles for 10 years. Why are you just now a Hyatt Globalist? Or more specifically, was my run in 2024 that got me Globalist for 2025? The question is that worthwhile? Why are you just now a globalist as of last year? Well, let me give you a little bit of background on my travels and myself as well, because I think that will help create an explanation for that component before we get into the numbers, the math, the analytics, and my thought process around, honestly, do I think this was worth it? Would I do it again? So yes, I got into Points and Miles in 2016, and the reason why I know that is because I got the very first ever Chase Sapphire Reserve when it first came out, like a month after it came out, and I got the Freedom Unlimited card at the same time. So those are my first two cards in the Points and Miles space. I literally applied for both of them on the same day and got approved for both of them. Now, I didn't use my points in the best way, like the mistake that all of us do, but within about a year or so, I really figured out how to properly use the points in the way that we all come to know and how to use them now. Now, as many of you know on the show, I'm a financial advisor. I own my own financial planning firm. I started that firm in 2011, and yes, there's a reason for me explaining all this background. So 2011 through 2016, the first 5 years, most financial advisors don't make it, like most businesses don't make it in their first 5 years. So those first 5 years, I was focused on the business. I finally got into the space of wanting to be able to travel more, doing all those things, and that entire time from 2016 until, well, actually from before then, but up until I met my wife, Taryn, in 2021, the very end of 2021, I was a single dude. So as a single guy who loved to travel, I had no desire to stay in Hyatt's or have globalist status or stay in Hilton's or Marriott's or anything like that. When I would travel, if you've heard me talk about how much I love Thailand or Iceland or Colombia, a lot of different countries that I've been to over the years, I was not staying in hotels. Typically, I was staying in hostels. Now, I wasn't staying in like the $3 a night hostel where you share a bunk bed with 6 people. I still had some standards when it came to travel. So I was staying in, typically I always had a private room in a hostel. But what I loved about hostels, and I would encourage this for really any solo traveler out there. I know we have a lot of people in our community that are families and couples, but we do have some solo travelers as well. Hostels were really, really cool environments because that fostered a sense of community. It was very normal to go down to the bar, restaurant in the hostel and just like meet people and go on adventures and just put yourself with a group of people that you randomly just met the day before and like go to the beach with them. In Colombia, my buddy Marcel and I, we had this incredible hostel that was like near their national park. I think it's called Tayrona National Park. It was a hostel by the beach. They taught you surf lessons, all sorts of things. There was a guy there, his name is Mauro, from, I believe, the Netherlands. Or no, he was Swiss. And he asked if he could come on a hike with us. And we did this really cool overnight hike, camped on the beach. And at that hostel, he met Simona at that same hostel. And now they're married with 2 kids. So you never know what that type of interaction can create for you. So the reason why I've never chased status before is because I didn't really have a desire to. Now, fast forward to 2021, end of 2021, so the week between Christmas and New Year's, I meet my wife. And again, I've been a single guy for, I don't know, many, many years. Didn't have a girlfriend for any of those times. So literally it was just me traveling or by myself or with just a bunch of guy friends. So when it came to meeting my wife, obviously life and standards elevated for a good amount. My wife had a background of enjoying nice champagne. The stuff they serve you on Emirates first class, that wasn't her first rodeo with it. It was with me, but not with her, right? So caviar, dom, all those different things. So our standards, our travels elevated a little bit more. All the flights I was doing before, I was doing economy or premium economy on points. I didn't have a need to fly business class, and I was saving destinations like the Maldives and other places that we've been over the last few years for when I had someone special to travel with. So that's a little bit of the background as to why I never really cared about status before. And then through 2022, that first year of us dating, we had some really, really incredible trips. Our highlight was New Year's going into 2023, where we spent in Qatar, Dubai, and Oman. In fact, we started in Qatar, like literally right when the World Cup ended in Qatar. And so we did New Year's in Dubai in front of the Burj Khalifa. We flew business class there, a long haul, JFK to Doha. I mean, it was an incredible, incredible experience. And that's when I'm like, you know what? Okay, status is something that I need to start looking at more intently, especially on the hotel stays, because I was aware of what Globalist could bring or Hilton Diamond status or whatever it may be, but I needed the opportunity to get there. So how were we going to actually get there? Well, this has slightly changed a little bit, but I'm going to go through like what the process looked like before and what it's changed to now. So with American Airlines, that was who I was always flying. I always was gold or platinum status. In fact, pretty consistently was platinum status without really even trying for those years. Well, back then, in order to do the American Airlines / Hyatt status match or status run, if you were a gold or platinum member, you had the opportunity, if you stayed 10 days at Hyatt properties within a 90-day period of you triggering this, kind of turning on this on switch. So when you register, you have a 90-day period to complete 10 nights, you would get Hyatt Explorist status, so the second highest Hyatt status for the following year. Well, if you were a Platinum Pro or Executive Platinum, you had the additional opportunity, if you completed 20 nights, to be able to go for Globalist. So if you were Platinum Pro or Executive Platinum and you only did 10, you still got Explorist, but you had the additional ability to do 10 more nights to get Globalist. And that additional ability was not available to Gold or Platinum members. So in 2023, I decided, okay, I needed to push to get to Platinum Pro so that I had the opportunity to open up this window of opportunity to do this Globalist mattress run, because I didn't want to do this 60-night run for status. I also did not have a Hyatt credit card. That was just one of the things I had not prioritized getting in my time frame as well, right? So there's all these things. You can kind of see the pieces of the puzzle starting to add up over time. So now in 2023, that was the push to get to Platinum Pro with American. So how did we do that? Well, just through our normal flights, also taking a huge advantage of the American Airlines Advantage shopping platform, a shopping portal, which is similar to Rakuten if you're familiar with that. American Airlines has their own. They've really degraded that one over time. A lot of things that might have gotten you 5x with American are now getting you 1.5 or 2.5. So Rakuten is so much more stronger now than American Airlines Advantage Shopping was, but then also Advantage Hotels. And if you have an Advantage or American credit card, your opportunity for American Airlines loyalty point earnings with Advantage Hotels was like 10x. So you could have a stay at one hotel that if you didn't have an American Airlines credit card, you'd only get at best 1,000 loyalty points and miles. But if you did have a credit card, you would get 10,000 loyalty points and 10,000 American Airlines miles. So that was the focus in 2023. And I ended up pushing and ended up getting to American Airlines Platinum Pro status by the awards year, essentially, which ends in February each year with American Airlines. So that was step one. Now, step two is I had to wait for them to open up this opportunity for this status run. Typically, it's not been available all through the year. Going back to, I believe, 2021, 22, 23, 24, it opened up around the August-September timeframe. It was never exactly the same. I remember one year was about a month different than another year, which was kind of annoying for me because if it was the same, I would have actually gotten more nights organically. But I had to wait for this window of time to open, and then I had to wait to trigger and register this mattress, the start of this run, for when I would be able to complete the most organic nights. So what I mean by that is, let's just say this opened up in August 1st and you had to register. They usually gave you 90 days to register. So if it was August 1st, basically you would have to have registered by end of October. Now, the date you register starts the 90 days. So if you registered at the very end of October, you would have 90 days from end of October, or if you registered at the beginning of August 1st, you'd only have 90 days from August 1st. So I had to wait until I had the most amount of nights already lined up for our stays. So I don't remember exactly when that was, but we went ahead and pulled the trigger. I pretty much waited almost to a day or two before the registration period ended based on our end of the year stays and what we had lined up. So we went ahead and triggered that with some of the trips and stays that we already had planned. I believe part of that was when we stayed in the Andes in Mexico City. We had just a few different trips already lined up. So in that 90-day period, we had 8 nights organically already planned. So with those 8 nights, I needed 12 more to complete the Globalist Challenge. So this is where the analysis comes in, because this is where I want to share with you what I did, because ultimately it's a question of, was this worth it to do for what we were able to receive in 2025 last year? So basically, to give you an idea, we completed 8 nights organically, so I had to complete 12 virtual nights. So what I call a virtual night is a night that I booked, I checked in, I did not actually sleep in that bed. And so 3 of those nights was actually at the Hyatt Place in Arlington, Texas, which was great because it was a Category 1 property, only 5,000 points per night. I was at Texas, actually, in Arlington. That was for the Travel More conference that happened in 2024. I was actually staying at the host hotel for the conference. I think was maybe a Radisson, but there was a Hyatt house around the corner that a lot of people that didn't want to book in the host hotel, or the host hotel was full, they were staying at. And so what I actually did is I got the 3 nights, I booked it, and I just offered it within the travel Facebook group or whatever of the conference. I said, hey, anyone that wants to stay here can stay in my room basically for free. I'm doing it for a mattress run. I know there's people in this group will understand it. And so although I didn't stay, someone else did. They benefited from the 3 nights there. And I went in, I checked into that hotel specifically, and thankfully they didn't destroy or damage the hotel. They changed it to their own card for all the things. So that was great, but I checked into that. That cost me 15,000 points. Now, I have a Hyatt Place right next to my office or near my office. That's a category 3. So it's a little bit more expensive of a property. And so I did multiple stays there that were virtual. So I didn't want to do a really long, like 8 or 9 night stay, because I didn't want to put the do not disturb on there and then have them wondering why no one's opened the door. I don't know if they check it or not, but why no one's opened the door, no cleaning service has gone in there for a week. So I didn't do anything crazy or super long. So I did multiple 2 and 3 night stays. 2 of those stays, so I did 2 nights at the Hyatt Town Center, and that cost me 18,000 points, so 9,000 points a night. That was one stay. And the way I did it is I actually would go in, I would check in, I'd go up to the room, I would like toss the room basically, like move the pillows and the sheets, maybe like wash my hands and then or like throw a towel like on the floor or something like that. So I made it look like I stayed there. And then I put the do not disturb on and then I left. And then the day that I was supposed to check out, again, this was by my office, so it really was not super inconvenient for me to just show up, take the do not disturb off, and then leave. I didn't actually have to really physically check out. And that's how I basically did it. So if you're wondering, like, how did I do a virtual stay, that's how I actually did it. So I did 2 nights, and that was 18,000 points. And then I did 3 nights, so that was 27,000 points. So in total, between the 3 nights in Texas and those 5 nights in points, I spent 60,000 Hyatt points. Okay, so 60,000 Hyatt points for that. And if you're going to, let's just value Hyatt points at 2 cents per point, and realistically, those were transfers from Chase at that time. So I always talk about you want to get at least 2 cents per point of value. So even though I technically didn't for those stays, I'm going to value my points that I transferred at 2 cents per point because that's what I minimally should have been getting if I was using that for first class travel or whatever it may be. So if you do 60,000 points and then take 2 cents of value per point, that's $1,200 basically that I spent in points for those nights. So that was a total of 8 nights right there. But again, I need 12. So I need 4 more nights. So I did 2 other virtual stays at this same property. Both of those stays were for 2 nights each. And for one stay, I paid $250 in cash. And for the other stay, I paid $225 in cash. So in total, I paid $475 in cash for those 4 nights. And then again, the value of my points, I called that $1,200. So we're going to say in total, the cost of my virtual stay, my mattress run, was $1,675. So that's the first piece to consider, right? I organically spent 8 nights. I just spent almost $1,700 worth of total value. And you can question and say, well, depending on your points earning and your point balance and all that, well, technically your points don't necessarily need to be valued that much. You can technically argue that. So I'd be happy to hear in the comments what your thoughts are on that piece. But let's just say I spent almost $1,700. Was Globalist worth it for me then? What value did I get out of it to make that worthwhile? And this is something that I didn't just do because I wanted to talk about on the show. I did this because I needed to know for myself as well. Was this worth it? Now, as I go through this next part of the analysis, one thing I want to point out very clear, this is going to be very, very different, obviously, for everybody. No one's going to recreate this exact same scenario and come up with the exact same results. Your family size might be larger or small. If you have kids, it's automatically going to be larger. You might be staying at different properties at different time periods where they have different occupancy, where they can or cannot upgrade you. There's so many things that could change everyone's experience in the same method. And so I want to be very, very clear about that. So this is really something that is about, hey, what did I get out of it? And did I consider that valuable enough? Would I do this again, basically? So let's start with the first place we stayed after receiving Globalist status. The first place we stayed, that was at the Hyatt Zilara Rose Hall in Jamaica. You might recall that episode we talked about. That was for one of my best friends' wedding. I was in that wedding. That was an all-inclusive property, so there was no breakfast, so there's no value for the breakfast there. We stayed there for 4 nights. The first night we checked in, we got a regular room because they had a conference that was just ending, so they had no ability to upgrade us. And that regular room was very regular. It was very much so like a Hyatt Place room, even though the resort was beautiful. But then they upgraded us for 3 nights for an Ocean View Junior Suite Standard King. Now, the value, if you compare, so you're going to have to follow me on the math here, and I'm hoping that my team can get the numbers here on screen for those watching on YouTube to make it a little bit easier. But if you take the value of what our standard king room would have been, and then the value of our suite, of that junior suite we had, so the value of our junior suite for those 3 nights would have been $2,500 roughly in value. Whereas the king room would have been about $1,992 to be specific, so just under $2,000 in value. So the value of that suite upgrade, specifically for 3 nights, came out to be $546. So again, the value of the suite upgrade, I consider about $546 specifically for that. Now, we ended up actually getting a royal cabana because I had the Globalist status, so we got the largest cabana available. So the entire wedding, everyone that was there for the wedding on the Ziva side, because that was a cool thing about the property. They had the Ziva and the Zilara. Ziva's families, Zilara's adults only, but it's all shared kind of space. On the Ziva side, they have a royal cabana, massive cabana that could fit everybody around it basically as our kind of post-up space. We got a huge discount because of being a Globalist there. I don't remember the exact cost of it. I remember it being somewhere around $350 or $400, I believe. Well, basically, we got a Globalist discount, so the value of our discount was $175. And then at the shop there, they have a little gift shop. We got a discount being a Globalist as well. And the value of our discount for the things we bought were $22. So in total, the value of our Globalist upgrades at the Hyatt Zilara Rose Hall was around $743. Now, hey everyone, quick break from the episode. If you're enjoying the show, make sure you're subscribed on whatever platform you're listening on so you never miss an episode. And if you've gotten any value so far, it would mean the world if you left a quick rating or review. It helps more people discover the show and keeps us motivated to keep creating great content. Also, if you're feeling stuck or want help with points and miles, whether it's picking your first card, planning a big redemption, or even having someone book it all for you, we've got you covered. There's a link in the show notes to schedule a free points and miles consultation. Just fill out a quick questionnaire, tell us your goals, and we'll take it from there. And don't forget, our newsletter and private Facebook group are great ways to stay on top of breaking news, updated card offers, and tips that don't always make it into the podcast. You'll find those links in the show notes as well. Now, back to the episode. So the next one is actually the Park Hyatt Beaver Creek for 4 nights. So when I got to this hotel, I checked in and they gave me a Mountain View King room. And I believe that is the highest that they would upgrade someone that's an Explorers level, because at the time I checked in, they did not have a suite available. But actually that night, the same night I checked in, they actually had a junior suite available. So they upgraded me to the junior suite for all 4 nights that I was there. So the Mountain View King room is actually an upgrade on its own, but let's just say that room in general, because if you were not a Globalist, if you had any other status, you are likely or possible to get that at least. I valued that the cost of that room would have been $5,700, almost $5,800 for those 4 nights, whereas the junior suite that they upgraded me to was going to be over $7,500 for those 4 nights. So about a value of almost $1,800 for that upgrade. Now, it was just me for this trip, and so I had free breakfast every single day for just me, and so that daily breakfast was $61.14, and that includes gratuities, taxes, fees, everything else. So that was about $245 worth of value. And then daily valet parking, which was included because it was a award stay and Globalist, $140 in savings because for not paying for valet. So in total, at the Park Hyatt Beaver Creek, that was a value of about $2,176, being a Globalist, what that got me there. Now, incidentally, coming back from Beaver Creek, we had some insane travel issues and ended up having to book a night at the Hyatt Regency DFW in Dallas, right outside the airport, and I used points for that. They gave me a ginormous suite. The suite was bigger than most people's houses, their living rooms at least. I mean, it was absolutely massive. I am going to factor that in, although I didn't need it, but it was great because I actually got some work done while I was there. So the value of that suite upgrade just for the one night, about $134. The free breakfast, $25. 4 p.m. late checkout, I'm going to value that at $50 because I was actually able to keep some client meetings. I think our flight out back home the next day wasn't until like 7 p.m. So having that 4 p.m. late checkout was absolutely huge. So I'm going to value that about $50. Probably could argue it'd be a little bit more, but I'm just going to call it $50. And then my friends that were with me, Chris and Ashley, I actually was able to get them free breakfast as well with my Globalist benefit, which that meant breakfast for 3 adults, but they honored it, which was really cool. And so I'm going to value that at $50 also. So the one night stay at the Hyatt Regency DFW was about $259 in value. Now, if you've been listening to this podcast for at least over the last year, you know this next place, we got absolutely nothing of value. And this is at the Palazzo at the Venetian in Vegas. We did a whole episode on that where Chris, my buddy, he booked it as a Amex Fine Hotel and Resort booking. I booked it Hyatt Globalist. I would 100% say if you're going to stay there, don't you book it as a Hyatt Globalist, book it through Amex FHR. I mean, granted, you can book on points, which is nice and makes it less expensive, but Globalist got nothing, not even free water. It's actually kind of ridiculous. So Palazzo, Venetian, zero value, nothing really to talk about there, didn't get anything. So the next was 2 nights at the Secrets Tulum in Mexico. Again, that's another all-inclusive, so no breakfast there. We immediately, on check-in, got upgraded to the Preferred Club Swim-Out Suite. This was a beautiful, beautiful suite, swim-out, and it's in the Preferred Club. So there's, in Secrets properties, you have standard rooms, and those standard rooms have upgrades as well. But then you have the Preferred Club rooms, which get you Preferred Club access and preferred bars and locations at beaches and pools and other things. And they typically have their own, reserve private areas and staff, which are nice. So we not only got upgraded into the Preferred Club, but upgraded into a Preferred Club Swim Out Suite. The value of that suite, basically, for the 2 nights was $1,300 versus a standard room was going to be around $880. So we're going to call that about $440 of value for the 2 nights that we got there. As well as this was Taryn's birthday, we stayed there, and they gave us bottles of champagne, a really nice birthday welcome amenity, which was really cool. I'm going to value that at around $150 of what it would have cost if I had asked them to bring a bottle to the room to celebrate. That was included when we checked in. That was in the room already, which is really great. So Globalist stay, our value that we received at Secrets Tulum for just the 2 nights, about $590 just for those 2 nights. And lastly is the Grand Hyatt Hong Kong. You might remember we stayed there for our honeymoon. So we stayed there for 4 nights. Now I used a suite upgrade award at this property. And so I'm pretty positive the suite upgrade, all the suites there got us that amazing club lounge access. If you recall from my episode on that when we talked through it, that was one of the best club lounges I've ever seen at any Hyatt property, or almost any resort property in general. It was fantastic. And our suite was on the 30th floor out of 33. So the views were absolutely stunning and incredible. I can't speculate and assume that we would have just been upgraded. We got there around Christmas time, and so occupancy didn't seem like it was crazy, but again, I can't value whether we would have gotten upgraded or not because, again, we already had the suite. So we didn't really do too much with the hotel that got us a lot of additional value, except for 2 things. So A, when we checked in, we also had another honeymoon welcome amenity. We had cards from various members of different teams like management and food service and housekeeping. That was really nice. We had bottled champagne as well. We had a bunch of different foods and stuff that they gave us, our snacks, chocolates, all sorts of things. So I'm going to value that. I'm just going to be fair and call it $150 as well, just like I did at Secrets Tulum. It was a lot more elaborate. It was probably worth more, but I'm just going to say $150 as well for that. Now, the other one that's interesting, so when we checked in, if you recall from, again, our honeymoon episodes, when we checked in, they asked us if we needed the late checkout, the 4 p.m. late checkout specifically. We told them no because we had a flight to Fiji that was going to basically allow us to not need that late checkout. Well, if you recall, that flight was delayed 13 hours, so it was literally delayed until 3 or 4 a.m. the next day. And so when I asked them about if we could have the 4 p.m. late checkout, they said, sorry, basically, we have someone else checking into that room, so we can't let you stay in that room, But what we'll do to honor your globalist status, we'll give you a resting room, which is going to be on the floor right below you. So actually, I think we're on floor 31. So this was on the 30th floor, the same floor as the club lounge. So they gave us a smaller room. So it wasn't a suite, but they gave us a smaller room. They're like, hey, you can shower there, you can get ready, you can get changed, anything that you need. And you can stay there until 5 p.m., as late as you can stay in there, which was great. So I'm going to value that at about 40% of the cost of a regular room night. Now, that was a club access room and other things, but I'm just going to keep it super simple and say, based on what I could research on the cost of a room at that time, I'm going to value that as $250, because if we didn't have globalist status, I don't know if they would have gone to such lengths to make that happen, or if we didn't have status in general with Hyatt, I should say. So I'm going to value that specifically at $250. So if you add up the $250 for that and the $150 for the welcome amenity, that was in total about $400 of value we got from the Grand Hyatt Hong Kong. So in total, if you math up all the value we got from all of our stays at Hyatt properties over the course of last year, the Hyatt Zilara Rose Hall, Park Hyatt Beaver Creek, Hyatt Regency, the Palazzo, again, nothing, the Secrets Tulum for 2 nights, and the Grand Hyatt Hong Kong for 4 nights, the total value of all of that was about $7,345 for all of the things that I mentioned. Now, one thing I do want to point out, I forgot to mention about the Palazzo, is if you actually go, we have it on our blog, but we actually have the sheet they give you when you're Hyatt status when you check in. Discoverist, Explorist, and Globalist get all of the same benefits, literally all of the same benefits. They show you, those like a column with the X's and checks. No matter what your Hyatt status is, you get all the same benefits. So I want to point that out. The only exception is your bonus point earnings are higher, the higher status that you have, but that's it. So again, not that much additional value. So again, in total, we're talking almost $7,400 of total value. Now, there's other value that I can't extrapolate dollar for dollar out, such as the recognition and acknowledgement that kicks in when you have the globalist status. Different things that have happened to us on different stays where, as an example, now this was not during this year, but I'll give you an example. When we went to the Park Hyatt Maldives and our friend Tom Marsden got us the guest of honor status, the general manager and the food and beverage manager met us on the docks when our speedboat pulled up to the Park Hyatt Maldives. Everyone else checking in got like in a 6 or 8 person golf cart. We had our own golf cart that brought us to our villa for check-in. Every single day, one of the managers came to us and asked us how they could help elevate our experience. We actually got a back of the resort tour that they offered us because we kept asking them, well, what could we even ask for? Because we don't know what to ask for. And they really worked to elevate our experience. At the Park Hyatt in Auckland, technically that was this year, we got greeted by the manager at check-in. I don't even know how he knew, like literally he stepped out of his office and waited for us to finish check-in as we were in line and then took us to our room. I don't know unless they looked at pictures of us, how they knew it was going to be us. But anyway, the manager personally carried our bags and walked with us to our room to show us our suite. We had a welcome amenity there as well, another bottle of champagne, thanking us for our honeymoon, multiple cards. So all of those things really add up over time. I think additional things are the staff going above and beyond. We've checked into hotels multiple times at 9 a.m. where, again, I can't say if they would or would not have done this, but they didn't have to try to do that, right? Because what's great is if you're a globalist, if they have a suite open or a regular room open, you have options, even if it's a super, super early check-in, a 9 a.m. check-in. We've had that happen many times on our travels, which are beneficial. The ability to do advanced bookings, which technically anyone of any status, I think, are able to do, but usually it's been more reserved for globalists. Now, the concierge is a benefit as well of being a Hyatt Globalist. And interestingly enough, some of these benefits we didn't get our first year as a Globalist until we actually completed a full 60-night stay benefit. So when you're a baby Globalist, as I'll call it, when you do one of these mattress runs of 20 nights in 90 days, you don't get things like the Hyatt concierge that you do when you complete 60 nights. So some evolution over time is as we've done the payroll on credit card, I had the Hyatt personal card. and now I have the Hyatt business card. So it's been a lot easier for us to hit well over 60 nights through just our normal stays now, as well as the spend that we can put on our cards or through Zelle Money, payroll on credit card, which we've talked about a bunch of times on our podcast and our show. So these are things that have made it now easy to maintain globalist status. But again, it was a push and a period of a couple of years to get to it for the first year. I'll say the Hyatt Concierge, I don't know this is because so many more people are globalists now because of this points and miles push over the years. It seems to be a little bit less valued now as it was years past. I don't really have a lot to compare it to, but I know people that have been Hyatt Globalists for 5, 6, 7+ years have said that they've gotten a lot less value out of their concierge, but concierge is helpful, especially for bookings that are down the line. So if I have a booking, if it's July right now and I have a booking in September or December, something like that, emailing them some things like, hey, can you let the hotel know this, or can you do this or that? That's been super helpful and valuable. And the reason why I say that is because it can oftentimes take them a couple of days to get back to you. I think the value of the 4 p.m. late checkout as well, it allows you to think through your travels a little bit different. Maybe now you book a Hyatt for a positioning flight. If your positioning flight is at 8 p.m. at night and you want to fly in the night before, you could fly in the morning of, but if you want to be extra safe, you can fly in the night before and then just chill in the hotel till 4 p.m. and then go to the airport and get to the lounge or something along those lines. So I think the Hyatt Globalist status allows you to reframe your thinking around travel a lot, and that has value to it outside of just these upgrades and other things. Now, if you're interested in knowing, well, how can I recreate this same experience myself? There are still ways to do exactly what I did. They've actually changed the rules up a little bit though. So for years, they've had the Hyatt corporate status match. And for certain companies, if you have a work email, you can actually go online and put in your work email, and you have the opportunity to trigger this 90-day mattress run as well. Now, we don't have a full list of all the companies that are eligible for this, but some of the companies that we know of are going to be the big name ones here. So Amazon, American Airlines, Apple, Best Buy, Boeing, Chase, Chevron, Citi, Delta Airlines, Ford, Google, IBM, Intel, Johnson & Johnson, Kaiser Permanente, LinkedIn, NBC, Uber, United Airlines, Verizon, Wells Fargo, and many, many more on top of that. So we'll put the link to that in the show notes, where if you want to check and see if your email is eligible, your work email specifically for this 90-day run, you can put it in and then it will show you if you're eligible before you hit the button to start it, just so you know. So that is a way that you can do the same exact thing. Say 10 nights within 90 days, Explorer status. Say 20 nights in 90 days, Globalist status. So you can do a nice baby Globalist run instead of having to push to get those 60 nights. Now, the other that still exists is the American Airlines way. So what's evolved actually from when I did it, which for years it was you had to be Platinum Pro or Executive Platinum. Well, now they've changed it, at least as of this recording, where you can be any American Airlines status. So all the way even a gold member can do the same thing that I had to be Platinum Pro to do. And so with that, that means, again, 20-night stay within 90 days, you can actually go ahead and trigger this. Now, here's the thing. We're recording this in 2026. That was the way they did it in 2025. And it started again, end of summer is when they opened up the ability to do this. As I record this right now, this is not eligible this year yet. And I don't know by the time this episode comes out whether it's going to be available or if they're going to do the same thing this year. So I can't comment on that yet because we don't know as of this recording, but I would keep an eye out for that. Because it could make sense for you to push for baseline American Airlines status. That's 40K loyalty points. That is super easy to do with just a few flights. You don't even need flights. Just using the American Airlines shopping portal, Advantage hotel stays, you can very easily get to 40K nights. And maybe you do what I did, where you catalyst getting this status benefit and then pushing that into the mattress run, which if you start that now, as an example, if we assume that it's going to work and you start that now, you can do all of it in 1 year, whereas I had to wait 1 year to get Platinum Pro, and then I had to just wait until the window opened up. So if you start now, by the time this window opens up, assuming it's going to be again in the end of summer, early fall, you could probably get all of this done by the end of the year, and with 20 nights, complete your Globalist run. And then the last thing I'll mention is a possibility. We're hearing that there's going to be, again, as of this recording, we're hearing that there's going to be an elite level Hyatt card that's coming out. What status will it give you? We don't know. Maybe Explorers, maybe Globalist, maybe something completely different. But obviously that would be a completely easier and different way just to have Globalist status if that's something that comes out as well. So to summarize, guys, I mean, what's the value here? Was it worth it? Would I do it again? I think unequivocally, yes. I would do it again. I would do the virtual night stays, which got annoying. I won't lie. Having to go check in, mess up a room. I probably didn't have to just mess up the room. I could have probably just checked in and left, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to make sure it looked like someone actually stayed there. I probably could have pushed it to do like 4 nights or 5 instead of multiple 2 and 3 night stays. But again, I just didn't want to play with fire or have any issues at all with that, have the hotel contacting me or anything along those lines. So again, it cost me, I should say, about almost $1,700, but the actual quantifiable value that I got was almost $7,500 in value in 2025 for being a globalist. Since then, I can say the cost to become a globalist has probably gone down dramatically for me because we're able to, like I mentioned, complete our credit card spend with the Zil Money payroll on credit card. The Hyatt Business Credit Card actually is a fantastic credit card to use for payroll because of the fact that you get actually 2x points. So you get 1x when you spend with Zil Money, but then if that's one of your highest categories for the quarter, you get that bonus 1x at the end of the quarter. So for those reasons, it's been a lot easier to maintain. I think last year we'd actually, with our spend and our nights, actually hit over 70 nights. But I would definitely do this one again. Now, I'm curious for you all, what would you say your experience has been, or would you do this as well? I know we have listeners in our community that said they went for Hyatt Globalist and they never got upgraded anywhere that they went. And or they had bigger families, so they still had to get multiple rooms and other things. So Hyatt Globalist wasn't as great for them. But then other families that have said, well, the free breakfast for 4 people is amazing. So I think all of us are going to have very different experiences, but I'm curious, would you do what I did? Do you think what I did made sense? And if you were me, would you repeat it again is the question. So that's it for today's show, everybody. This is something I've been wanting to compile and put together and share with you all for a while now. I'm happy I got a chance to finally to do it, and we'll see what the changes to Hyatt. I think another question as well is Globalist still matter with Hyatt's devaluation and award chart changes and Chase changing its transfer ratio, at least for the preferred cards. As of right now, I'm still a Hyatt loyalist, but like I've mentioned before on the show, I like to diversify my portfolio and my investments. I do it for clients. I like to diversify my travel and my status. So yes, we have globalist status, but yes, we also have Hilton Diamond status. My wife has IHG Diamond status. So we like to make sure we mix and match because you just never know with this travel world, the points and miles world, where you're going to get the most value, but you want to have the options available as well. If you like this episode, if this was helpful, throw it in the comments. Make sure to give us a like, a rating. If you haven't rated or subscribed yet, I would love if you decided to do so. We would love a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. If you've been listening for months, for years, and you haven't done a rating yet, I would sincerely appreciate it if you took the time to do so. Make sure to tell your friends. Make sure to subscribe to our newsletter that comes out every single week. If you're not part of our WhatsApp community, we welcome you. We would love for you to be there and share your points and miles questions and journeys and wins with us. A lot of people are doing that on a daily basis. We're a talkative bunch, I know, but we would look forward to having you there. And don't forget about our Miami meetup, February 5th through 7th. It's open to all who love points and miles. We have a limited amount of tickets still available. You can find that in the show notes as well. As always, remember to live well, travel boldly, and we will catch you on the next episode. Take care.